Hey everyone, I'm Matt McFarlane and I'm an engineer at Microsoft and a contributor to the new VS Code extension for Postgres that's just been released to public preview. Please join this talk if you're interested in learning about a new tool in VS Code that can help manage and you develop Postgres applications using both standard database management tools and also more advanced Copilot AI capabilities. First up, to avoid any confusion, there has been a Microsoft Postgres extension in the VS Code marketplace for years and years, but unfortunately, it hasn't gotten much attention and it was a bit outdated. This is an entirely new effort with a larger scope and more ambitious goals. So, if you've come across it before, I hope you'll check out this talk and give this one a try too. So, every morning, I start my computer and I launch the same set of core tools: email, Teams, a browser, a terminal, and VS Code. Before I've even had time to think too deeply about what I'm doing today, I already know I'll be living inside that editor for a good chunk of it. And I know I'm not alone. This scene, laptop open, VS Code running, coffee in hand, it's something I imagine playing out every morning across the world. VS Code has become the daily workplace for developers, and it's no surprise why. It's got great extensions, a great pace of innovations, especially GitHub Copilot, which I personally find to be an incredibly productive tool. And Postgres, well, this is not the conference where I feel the need to make a case for why Postgres, but let's just say it's a very popular database. By integrating directly into the world's most popular IDE, we can put our tools right alongside developers' application code, minimizing context switching and working seamlessly with the productivity and development tools that they already rely on. And importantly, with the rise of Copilot and LLM powered interfaces that are reshaping the way we build software, we want to ensure that those tools are just as informed about your database as they are your code base. So you don't need to read every line here. The point I'm trying to make is that we've tried to pack a lot of features into this first release. Most of these features you'd absolutely expect from a database management tool, regardless of what runtime it is: connections, query execution, results viewing, that kind of thing. But there are also some capabilities that might surprise you: local containerized instance creation, the ability to chat with your database in natural language using Copilot and agent mode. I'm not going to spend the rest of the time of this talk going through slides about all this. We're just going to dive in and show some of these features off in a series of demos. So let's see how easy it is to get connected, whether you're on a remote or local instance or any managed Postgres service. Most of us aren't working with just one database. We've got dev and test environments, production backends, some local test instances, and maybe multiply that by a few different projects. That can get a little messy. One of the first things this extension does helps you with organizing your connections. You can group them however makes sense: by project, by environment, by team, whatever. Let's say I'm working on a migration project. I'll create a new group for it, call it demo project, and then I'm going to drag a few existing connections in here, maybe a legacy production server and a staging copy. Now, I also want to connect to a server that I don't already have a connection to, so let's make a new one for this group. You can do this in a few ways depending on what you got handy. I'll just go to my server group and select new connection. If you've got the details, you just plug them in right here. There's support for all the standard inputs: host name, user, some advanced settings like SSL enforcement. You specify your port, things like that. Um, you may also have a connection string. This could be in a variety of formats, like a Postgres URI, or even a copy of a pSQL command, the standard PG prefixed environment variables. You could paste that in here. We'll be able to parse everything out except for the password and pre-populate the fields for you. If you've got a flexible server instance in your Azure subscription, you can skip all that and just browse your Azure subscription directly. This will take a moment for me because I have many, many subscriptions. I've got them filtered down. I'll select one. You can also filter by resource group or region and eventually find the servers that you're looking for. For now, I'm just going to grab a pSQL command that I've copied from elsewhere. I'll go ahead and paste it in, and we'll see everything get filled out. I still need to enter my password and save it. This is stored in VS Code's secret store. And now I'll go ahead and connect, and we can see that I'm adding this analytics database to my new server group. Great. I'm actually going to jump back in and talk a little bit about some credential handling options that we have too. Obviously, you can use a regular username and password if you want. That's what we just did. But for Azure users, we've enabled who have enabled Entra ID authentication. We're going to handle that for you. It's much more secure than managing your own passwords, but it can be a real pain to generate and refresh these short-lived tokens and then use them for connecting. After adding your Enter account, the extension will be able to generate the token behind the scenes and connect you securely, no secrets to store. This is available using any of the connection methods. Once you're connected, your server shows up right here in the Object Explorer. You can expand it to browse all the familiar stuff, your databases, schemas, views, functions, roles. It's sort of a full visual map of what you're looking at. But what if you're just getting started or you want to test something locally without setting up a full database server? We've made it super simple to spin up a new local Postgres instance using Docker. No terminal, no config. Here, I'm just going to go to create new server, and we're going to land on a screen with some options. Right now, we support Docker-based local servers, but we've got plans to add simple Postgres flexible server provisioning and some other options as well. So select that. First, it'll give you an overview about Docker. It'll do some prerequisite checks to make sure everything's installed and running correctly. If it's not, you'll get some information about how to set up your system. Once we're all good, we just need to give it some basic information to set up our container. We'll need to give it a profile name, just like in the previous connection. We'll also set a container name. There's defaults for a lot of these values if you want to just sort of breeze through it. Um, Add my password and save it. By default, it's going to pull in the latest official Postgres image, but you can customize the image name or the tag or the repository if you've got something more specific in mind, like a container that has some pre-built extensions or something. I'll go ahead and click connect and get this thing created. Great. And you're up and running with a local database already connected without having to leave VS Code. Now that we've got a few connections here, and especially on my small screen now, it's getting a little bit crowded with connections. So you can filter the connections to just those you've connected to and stay focused on whatever you're working on. So whatever you're dealing with, production infrastructure, test environments, local scratchpad, this extension gives you a way to stay organized, connect quickly, and work the way that you want to, and hopefully where you want to with the rest of your application and development tools in VS Code. Next, let's take a look at what happens once you are connected and ready to run some queries in the next demo. So now that we're connected to a server, let's explore it a bit. Sometimes you're dropped into a database you've never seen before, and it helps to start with the big picture. Let's visualize the schema. I'm going to minimize the sidebar here so we can get a better view since I've got a particularly large schema that I want to showcase. There's a legend which shows all the color-coded schemas in the database. They correspond to this diagram, which you can pan and zoom around for some quick understanding of the relationships and find a table that you're interested in. Let's use this one. Once you spot a table that looks interesting, you can also find it back in the Object Explorer. You go through, you can expand your trees, the tree of tables, you scroll down. When you find it, you can select top 1000 to do a quick peek at that data, sort of a lightweight way to see what's in the table without having to write a query. Of course, you often will have to write SQL queries, and the extension adds some nice functionality to assist you here. We're just integrating with standard VS Code editors, which means all your usual extensions and tweaks are already applied. But we are supplying PG-SQL syntax highlighting and schema-aware IntelliSense for things like table names, column names, functions. Here, I'm showing all the tables in my production schema. You'll also see GitHub Copilot completion suggestions since I have that extension installed. And I think that's pretty useful, but remember that those completions aren't necessarily schema-aware, so you have to pay attention. I'll just finish out typing this query and see how it does. We have a few other features that you might also expect. You can select a single query out of a file of several, just execute that one by selecting it. Here, I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut to execute, Shift Enter. This is something you can configure in the VS Code settings. We also have snippets, which are templates for some common queries you might need. Here, I'm going to use one for listing all the tables in a schema. Just tab, it autofills, and we're just going to change that to the production schema. You can also toggle on and off the explain analyze features without having to change the query. So toggle that on, execute your query. You can see the analyze results. Go back, toggle it off, rerun your query, you get your results. So it's a nice way, again, without having to rewrite your query. I will draw your attention to the bottom of the screen where we've been seeing our results show up. These stay sticky with the active editor and they'll reload as you tab between different query editors. You can also pop them out into a different orientation if you prefer, based on your monitor size. And since this is VS Code, you could even drag that out of the window and put it as a floating window in a different monitor if you want. You can also filter and sort columns right in the results view. This is a quick way to do some exploration of the data without needing to rewrite the query. Great. If you need to export your results, we support CSV, JSON, and Excel formats. Here it's asking me for a save location, which you can't see on screen share. But if you give a minute, you'll see that the CSV export is saved and loads up. I'm going to do the same thing with JSON. And you can see that this is data type aware, so your values should be formatted correctly. We support large result sets, so even if your query returns tens of thousands of rows, you should still be able to scroll and interact smoothly. Back in the editor, you can always see what server and database you're connected to up here at the top lens area of the editor. We also have the same thing in the status bar. Hovering over either will show you a few more details. You can click them and reassociate an editor with a different database or different server connection using either of those. Here, I switched it to a different database. Obviously, I'm getting an error that table doesn't exist. We're looking for feedback, especially on how to communicate connection status, because we really want you to feel confident to know what you're executing your queries against. So these are all nice, rich editing and viewing experiences, but a lot of folks appreciate using pSQL on the command line. We integrate with pSQL directly from our Object Explorer. Just go back and find the database that you like to connect to, right mouse click, and launch pSQL directly into the VS Code terminal. This is already authenticated using the credentials that you provided, whether that be passwords or enter tokens, and it's scoped just to the selected database. We don't actually currently bundle the PG binaries, so this will only work if you have them installed on your system already. But if you do, it's just a click away. So whether you're exploring a new schema, editing queries with Copilot support, or dropping into a pSQL session for a quick command, your basic workflows should be covered. Let's finish by moving to the last demo, which introduces some capabilities for more advanced workflows using GitHub Copilot with agent mode. The demo is going to focus on agent mode experience, which honestly is pretty interesting, but there's also a registered chat participant as part of the extension where you can simply chat with natural language to query and modify your database. My colleague, Rob Emanuel, who's the lead on our Copilot efforts, has already recorded this awesome demo, so I'm just going to let him take it away.
Hi, I'm Rob Emanuel. In this video, I'll show you how easy it is to build a database-driven app using Microsoft's PostgreSQL VS Code extension and GitHub Copilot agent mode. Let's jump right in. We see here a Docker Postgres server that I set up with our extension, which we call PGSQL for short. I need a new database for my app, so I simply ask GitHub Copilot agent mode to add it. The agent uses PGSQL tools to connect to the server and create the database, prompting me to confirm modifications. For this demo, I'll select Allow in this session, letting Copilot use the tool without further confirmation in this chat session. I'm building an app focused on brewery data, so I ask Copilot to import data from the Open Brewery DB project, a community-driven open source dataset. Copilot downloads the CSV, creates a table, and loads the data into my database. Every query executed by Copilot gets logged to the PGSQL query history, so I'm able to see exactly what Copilot has run. Next, I ask Copilot to visualize the database schema, which brings up the PGSQL schema visualization tool. I notice this dataset includes latitude and longitude, so I ask Copilot to convert these into a PostGIS geometry column. The change updates in the visualization immediately, enabling quick iteration of schema design. Now that the data is in Postgres, I can have Copilot write and run queries based on my natural language questions. Notice that Copilot effectively uses the PostGIS extension and even directly geocodes Philadelphia. Next, let's build an API for our app. Switching to the O4 mini reasoning model, I instruct Copilot to create a Python fast API based server that serves the brewery data in GeoJSON format, a popular geospatial standard. Copilot builds the application, including dependencies, and writes an endpoint that uses precise SQL queries, leveraging the full context provided by PGSQL. With just a small amount of off-screen work to set up my environment, I run the API server and test the GeoJSON endpoint, retrieving data for one of the breweries. Now that we have our API, it's time to build the front end. I ask Copilot to create a single-page web app displaying breweries on a map. Copilot generates the front end and modifies the fast API server accordingly. Copilot chose a popular open source web mapping framework called Leaflet, which can display the GeoJSON fetch from the API. After restarting the server and opening in my browser, we can see an interactive map of all of the breweries in the dataset. Finally, to expand this simple app into something more impactful, I envision a Wikipedia-style platform that enables more engagement with the dataset. I work with Copilot to modify the database schema to support these more advanced features. Copilot updates my schema and offers to apply the corresponding changes to my codebase. But we'll stop here for now. As you've seen, the Microsoft PostgreSQL VS Code extension and GitHub Copilot can empower you to quickly build database-driven applications from back-end to front-end and supercharge your workflow.
Great. Really excited about that feature. So thanks for taking the time and checking out this talk. We've packed a lot into this extension and we're still building. This means your feedback really matters. We want to know what's working well, what's missing, what's frustrating, what ideas you have for where this could go. You can install it now by searching for Microsoft Postgres in the VS Code Marketplace. We're still in preview right now, so if you hit a rough edge or have thoughts while using it, you can run the command pgsql give feedback right in VS Code. It'll bring up a form. It's really easy for you to just send us a note or send us a thumbs up or thumbs down about how you feel about it. And of course, if you want to open an issue, file a bug, or start a discussion, head to our GitHub repo. It's here on the screen. This is also where you can find links to our documentation about how to use all these awesome features. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to check this out. Thanks a lot.